Thank you everybody for joining. My name is Shane. I run the events over at 10 Capital Network, and we have our monthly quick pitch today. So we're going to have 5 great companies to hear from. And if you in the audience have any questions, please feel free to drop those in the chat as we're moving along, and hopefully we'll have time to get to them. And with that, I'll just go ahead and get things started as we're going to be on a time crunch probably. So I'll start with just introducing our investor panelists. So we'll start with Bill from Mutual Capital Partners. If you want to just give us a brief introduction.
Thanks, Shane. Bill Trainer, co-founder of Mutual Capital Partners. We're a Cleveland-based Series A venture fund focused on B2B software and medical devices.
Awesome. Thanks, Bill. And Gao from Division One Partners. Sorry.
It's Division One Capital.
Division One Capital, my bad.
We're a $100 million fund backing companies with purchase orders from government.
Awesome. And with that, Hall, I'm going to pass it off to you also, just so I can run the timer. But we're going to have Brandon Garrett from Electric Playhouse come on up here and give the first pitch.
Awesome. Great. Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. My name's Brandon Garrett. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Electric Playhouse. And we're a location-based entertainment platform based in Albuquerque, New Mexico. We started in 2018, opened the doors February 2020, and kind of reopened the doors after COVID hit last summer. And we focus on kind of immersive and interactive technologies. We did a Series A 5 million in 2019 that got us off the ground, and now we're in a new capital raise as we're aiming to open our flagship location right in the Las Vegas Strip. And so we're a team of kind of architects, software developers, engineers, and the big idea is that we control the entire process from design, operations, and content development. So we're turnkey. We create all of our own content and operations. And on our team, myself, my background is a licensed architect that also kind of managed technologies for the region's largest firms for the last 15 years. And the rest of the board has a variety of experience in technology, real estate, and also entertainment, with like Craig Kornblau, an ex-Disney Universal president, on the content and IP strategy side. So the big idea is that we just see the building as the next media platform. We have all these iterations of that, and the power of a building becoming transformed into something that you step into is really powerful. And the way we do that is we combine projection mapping and a network of sensors. And so essentially what happens is the walls and floors react to your motion throughout the space. So we don't require special headsets. You don't need any type of wristband. You just walk in and the space reacts to you. And the way that we scale and kind of push our content to multiple units and future locations is that it's a kit of parts approach, where we have a variety of space sizes that can accommodate 2 to up to 40 players at one time. And we take those kit of parts and arrange them in various form factors. Our Albuquerque store is about 24,000 square feet. Our Las Vegas store is going to be located in the Forum Shops, and that's a 12,000 square foot footprint. And then we also have a traveling version of Electric Playhouse that can range from 2 to 8,000 square feet. And that one just opened at the Michigan Science Center. And so the idea is we provide a variety of content. And so we do, interactive games where it's all motion-based, tracks you. And the games can support, like I mentioned, up to 40 players at one time, or individual games. And so it allows for lots of social collaborative play. And our technology, I think the biggest advantage is it really does support all ages. So little kids, parents, all adults come in and it just naturally reacts to them. We have a large collection of interactive art pieces. And then we also apply that technology to our party rooms, where we do immersive fine dining, where we take the technology, create interactive table surfaces and scenes that surround you through, 4 to 5 course meals. That also applies to birthday parties, corporate events. And so we have a wide variety of content kind of built up there. And we see big opportunity with venue buyout. This month or coming up in December, we've sold every day now for special venue buyouts, where we can essentially white label the entire building. So the whole building gets branded per a company's logos, colors, etc. And it creates really unique experiences for them. And that applies to our corporate events. We also do immersive art. And so this was one we ran over the summer called Microdose. And then we've got our current exhibit is with the Georgia O'Keeffe Museum. And we've been running that since October, and that will run through the end of the month. And that's all focused on the works of Georgia O'Keeffe. And then outside of that, we do concerts and we do fitness. And so we're able to kind of take that kind of library of content and essentially program it by time of day and that available demographic, meaning, you know, early morning might be more fitness, daytime activities is more education, game focused. And then we move into late night, which is targeting a different audience with our immersive art galleries, concerts, and fine dining events. So it's much like the idea of stepping into a TV. We just control the programming and what that is. So the idea is every experience at the Playhouse can be a very unique experience. And so here's just a quick video so you guys can just see it in action if it translates through here. But you walk into the space and you'll see people kind of running around, and this is the power of it, is that you can have these large groups all engaged in various activities. And it's how we take that sensor data and extrapolate it into just a wide variety of different content and experiences that you kind of saw in that previous presentation there. So we've got lots of kind of videos that kind of showcase just a wide variety of these various use cases. But again, there's just no headset or other tracking stuff, which can kind of bog down the experience and also limit the target audience for that. In our development process, you know, we can turn around some of these games in a week. More intricate ones could be 4 to 6 weeks, but it's all agile because we own the development pipeline. We can make changes on the fly and tweak stuff to our own needs. So we're never reliant on any type of third party. We see big opportunity in terms of marketing, where we can get sponsors between experiences. So you can have your Under Armour experience, Coca-Cola experience, and kind of generate kind of new revenue opportunities there. And why we have the Disney kind of Universal guy on the team is that long-term, our content roadmap is to bring IP to life and bring back, you know, all of this IP sitting in movie studio shelves and kind of create new immersive experiences based on that, just because they have such a robust library. And we see as we scale, you know, really utilizing kind of projection equipment and sensors, we're kind of one of the few that's buying, you know, 40, 50 projectors at one time. And so we see big opportunities on the tech side for partnering and developing that content. So our big exciting news is the opening of Las Vegas, which will be summer of next year. This will essentially be our national and global entry into the market. The location is right on the Strip, right on the Forum Shops. This is Simon Mall's #1 portfolio property, and they get about 43 million visitors a year that are looking for entertainment. And Electric Playhouse would be the only immersive concept that's actually on the Las Vegas Strip. There's others that you have to drive to off the Strip, but that convenience factor is a huge in terms of capturing the foot traffic that's within the location itself. So as a company, we're doing 2 rounds. We're raising at the corporate level for equity, and that's through a convertible note. And then the other one is actually a location-based investment, where any investment in that, we're targeting a 3x return. And then once you hit that return, that kind of ends your participation in the location. So one is more of a cash flow with quarterly profit sharing, and the other one's kind of the long-term corporate equity. But with Vegas being such a huge tourist market, we really built kind of a model built on capture for the location. And so at 50% capture, we see these units kind of generating close to 30 million. And obviously a greater capture would kind of increase that number. And just looking at our roadmap, once our flagship store opens next year, we expect corporate to be profitable. And then we already have about 3 other deals with Simon Malls in the works right now. And we expect to start to open multiple units concurrently starting in 25. With the big idea, you know, really hitting that IP library. And that's where, you know, we have the precedent of Dave & Buster's exit recently of 835 million for Main Event, which had 50 units. We don't see a Dave and Buster's or Main Event. We really see like a Disney or Universal who has that IP that's looking for new life, because that's where we can kind of provide our expertise and that footprint. So that's kind of us in a quick pitch form, and happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Brandon. Bill, what's your question?
Can you speak a little bit to the, the economics of the business, now that you're back up running again, what type of utilization are you seeing, and, when are kind of peak periods? Just anything around like, the profitability of the business model.
Yeah, so Albuquerque, we've essentially now have close to a year of operating. And so it is a seasonal business, we found. And the seasonality is, around school, summertime is spring break, summertime, and our big fall break here. They're definitely kind of peak opportunities in terms of revenue. But we're trying to actually curve that by widening the variety of content. And so with like our Georgia O'Keeffe experience, that's a very different demographic. We're targeting, 45 to 65 has been our sweet spot there. So that's been filling now the gap between those seasonal hours, which were really targeted towards families. We see the Albuquerque location about break even this year, and that's feeding off a much smaller population. Albuquerque is about 650,000. And just applying that same capture to a major market where we think these units will thrive, we see those units performing well. Corporate generates revenue through essentially a kind of a 10% license fee from the units that goes to the corporate team, and also our traveling exhibit. So the intention is any game or experience we build, we want as many footprints to push that same content out to, and that's what fuels the corporate growth.
Great. And yeah, what's your question?
Seems pretty good. How many investors do you have on for this round?
So during our Series A, we had about 56 investors. Most of them were smaller checks. We're raising money in New Mexico. That's a very different probably environment than others. And so far, within the 2 current rounds we're in, we've raised about $2.5 million, and that started about 2 months ago.
I see.
Is there a follow-on question there?
No, it's pretty tight.
Great. A question from the audience, Brandon, is how do you compare against the immersive Van Gogh exhibit currently touring around the country?
Immersive Van Gogh is, to us, they don't have the interactivity component to it. And so that one's more just like a projected 360 video. You just kind of watch it. It's a passive experience. The Playhouse, by utilizing that sensor network, we're able to kind of add a whole nother level of immersion within those events. But to us, that's just part of our catalog, where Van Gogh is Van Gogh, where we could essentially run Van Gogh just by a particular time of day. And so it's really, consider the Playhouse as the TV, the platform to play that type of content. We expect to kind of control it all once we get our footprint in place.
Great. Next question from the audience is, what's your minimum investment that you'll take for the current round?
So there's 2 investments. Corporate equity, we tend to look at 50,000. If you're in New Mexico, there's an Angels network that has an SPV that we're allowing smaller investors to pool, and 75,000 in the Las Vegas location.
Great. Bill, any other questions from you?
No, I think it's a great presentation. I mean, when you think about moving to areas like Vegas and other, like larger cities, you're also going up against a lot of other competition that's out there for all the same reasons you're interested in moving there. It really boils down to like location. Do you have like a location strategy that, is economical? Because, I saw some of the, areas you're looking at going to. Do you have like a potential, preferred rent scenario through the, the partnership you have with Simon?
So we're working with Simon now to identify the major markets. I think the strategy is to scale within major markets first before hitting like sub-markets like Albuquerque, just because of the population and the demographics available. And so, we're looking at, the Bay Area, Houston as potential, and Florida as kind of the next wave of those locations. And I think once we hit those major markets, in those markets, what is our competition? You're looking at like a Main Event, Dave and Buster, these traditional arcades or entertainment. I think it's just by being that variety of content. I'll just give you one example that happened a few months ago. Is we had a family that visited that was out of town. They came in the morning, they all played the games for an hour. Then the parents learned about an immersive dinner that night. They came back and did immersive dining in one of our party rooms. And then their college-age son came back to a concert that night. So they had 3 completely different experiences all within one day. And so that, to me, that's like the perfect scenario. And that's where a Meow Wolf, these others, once you go to them, if you go the next day, it's the same experience and people are looking for something new. And that's what we bring to the table.
Great, thanks. It looks like we're at the end of our time, Brandon. Thanks, everybody in the audience. We will be back around to see if anybody has any interest in follow-ups for one-on-ones. Thanks, Brandon, and appreciate the pitch there. Next up, we have Rick Schumacher of Pressure Biosciences. Rick, can you share your slides, and we'll kick off with your presentation.
Thanks all, and thanks everybody for joining. I'm Rick Schumacher. I'm the CEO, president, and founder of Pressure Biosciences. We are a company that's been around for a number of years. We have been developing products by using and capturing the enormous opportunity that high pressure brings. Pressure moves at the speed of sound. Pressure is instantaneously, basically you can turn it on and off like a light switch. And so it can do many things in the laboratory that we use heat and cold and pH and chemicals for, except when you use pressure, it goes on immediately to the right pressure that you need, and you take it off, it's immediately off. When you use heat and cold and chemicals, you have to go back in and make some changes there afterwards. So we've been developing a number of things in the area of, I should say we're a publicly traded company, so please do your diligence first. So before I get into the products, and we're only going to really talk about one called Ultra Shear Technology today. My background is I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've spent 13 years in the beginning of my career as a virologist at Harvard Medical School. I left to start my first company, Boston Biomedica. I grew it to over 300 people, a profitable company 15 years in a row. And I'm very proud to say we changed the way in the 1980s and 90s on how blood banks and hospitals test for HIV, hepatitis B and hepatitis C, and there's hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of people alive and well today because of what we did at Boston Biomedica, my first company. It was a NASDAQ company. I was asked to help a Irish company go public, Trinity Biotech. They're still around. TRIB is their symbol. And I also spun out an anti-HIV company called Panicos Pharmaceuticals, PANC, which went to about a 750 million market cap. So all told, my first 3 companies were about $1 billion in market cap. This fourth company, Pressure Biosciences, is the hardest thing I've ever done in my career. I have to tell you that the investor base is different. Everything is so different now than it was 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years ago. But we're getting there. And it's been a long story, but I'm happy to say, and Hall knows this, we've turned a corner and we're getting to where we need to get, and we're going to go through that right now. I'm surrounded by an incredible team. The first 2 I'll mention, Dr. Ting. He is a pioneer in bringing high pressure into the food and beverage industry. It's now a $15 billion industry. He, Dr. Bala and the U.S. Army got together around the year 2000, and they developed a lot of information about using high pressure to make food safer, reducing bacteria so you don't have to use chemicals. So you're getting what we call a clean label. He is a pioneer in that area. He got his PhD from MIT in materials, and what we're doing now is all about finding the right materials to withstand the types of pressures we go to. Alex Lazarev is the guy who runs up our biochemistry end. So we've got very, very high level engineering, very, very high level biochemistry, and the rest of the guys are terrific. Don't have time to go through them, but they're terrific. This slide only shows we've got 30 issued patents, 15 are in the first technology, pressure cycling technology. Please, you can go to the website or call me. We can talk about it. Our customers are Merck, Lilly, Pfizer, Monsanto, Bristol Myers Squibb, the FBI, the FDA, the CDC, the Karolinska Institute, and it goes on and on. A wonderful group of key opinion leaders that are using this technology that pulses pressure cycling technology, so it cycles pressure on and off, and it breaks samples up. Samples could be viruses, bacteria, cancer cells, normal cells. We have a good base there, but it's not what's going to get this our company to where we need to get over the next few months and years. So we're still doing this. It's on our middle burner. BaroFold, very interesting technology, 8 issued patents. We can help companies that are making protein-based drugs, which is really where most companies are going now, getting away from chemical-based, going into protein-based drugs. A lot of problems happen. Our technology can help them get through those problems. And we're working with two of the biggest biotech companies, biopharma companies in the world right now. And I can't name names like I could in the first, because when people come to us for the BaroFold to fix problems as they're trying to get their protein-based drug to market, people will say, oh, they're having problems, so we can't talk about except under NDA. What we're going to talk about today is UltraShear technology, or UST. Essentially, this is an offshoot of what Dr. Ting did 22 years ago, 25 years ago in the food industry, which is currently, as I said, a $15 billion market. We've taken it to the next level, to the next step. We've combined ultra high pressure, which has the ability to reduce bacterial load and therefore enable us to not have to put antimicrobials into drinks and food and other things. But we've combined it with very intense shearing, very high shear. And when you have ultra high pressure and ultra high shearing, you can do things like, the simplest thing, we can make oil go into water, but we can make oil go into water and stay in water. Why is that important? It's important because emulsions are things like oil and water. When we're mixing two or more things that don't go together. Oil and water don't go together. We know what happens when we mix them, but we can make them mix. And there are so many active ingredients in the world today that are in oil. If 44% of all new drug candidates are in oil. All of the nutraceuticals, half of the nutraceuticals, vitamin D3, and all of the vitamin B's and D's are in oil. What about astaxanthin, the most powerful antioxidant on earth, 6,000 times more powerful than vitamin C? It's in oil. What about this massive growth? I'm actually continuing Brandon's. He was talking about Vegas. I'm in Vegas. I don't know what's behind me. I think it's the curtain, but I'm in Vegas attending the large cannabis meeting. We're not cannabis people, but our first product is going to be cannabis related, and we'll go into that, right now. It's our so-called low-hanging fruit. So if you have something, an active ingredient in oil, generally speaking, when we as human beings or our pets or our flowers, our plants take that in, we generally can take 5 to 15% of that active ingredient out of the oil before we excrete the oil from our systems. Or it gets washed away. So that's a problem. It's a huge problem that we can fix. So when you want to get to the active ingredient, get it out, there's one surefire way that's been proven for many, many years. And it also has the advantage of extending the shelf life and making it effectively water soluble. And that's taking the emulsion, which are mainly macroemulsions, big chunks of oil that we homogenize a bit and break them up. If you can make the oil, bring it down to a level where the oil drop is smaller than a bacterium. So it's smaller than, I don't want to get too technical, 100 nanometers. So it's down under 100 nanometers. Those oil drops will essentially go into solution and they'll disappear. And when they get into your gut, it'll be very easy for the body to absorb out of this all of that active ingredient. So the bioavailability goes from 5, 10, 15% to upwards of 60, 70, 80, going towards 100%. And that's what we need. If you're going to be able to dose it correctly, if you want to be able to get the right material, whatever it is, that nutraceutical or that pharmaceutical or that agrochem product into the system, you need to get it out of that oil as much as possible. So I've already gone through this, thousands of products that we run into every day. food, beverage, agrochemicals, nutraceuticals, cosmetics. Many cosmetics contain different oils, and skincare. It doesn't really penetrate the skin very well, and we'll talk about that shortly. But the answer is nanoemulsions. There's a lot of pretenders out there. We have reason to believe under NDA, happy to show it, that we are the best in class in the world right now, and we have reason to believe that our nanoemulsions are true nanoemulsions and increase bioavailability dramatically. So I'm going to go into UltraShear technology now. We get it to where it's under the size of a bacterium. So it's under the size of 100 nanometers. I'm not going to go through the data. I think what's most important here, you can see on the top left, prednisone underneath it. Prednisone, of course, is a pharmaceutical. Retinol is a major molecule that's in many skincare products. Over on the right, we have curcumin, which is a very popular supplement right now, and neem oil, which a lot of people use as a natural insecticide. We've nanoemulsified. What we do is we cut the oil down to where you can see on the left where it's 120 or 100. Those are nanometers. These are microscopic, smaller than a bacteria. And so they become billions of tiny little nano droplets of oil, all containing just a handful of molecules, rather than a bunch of drops of oil containing millions of molecules that you just can't get out. So we have successfully done pharmaceuticals, skincare, nutraceuticals, and agrochemicals. This is astaxanthin. It's a red compound on the left. You can see in the microscope, you see all those big oil droplets. Once it's gone through our system on the right, you can see it becomes very clear because all of the oil goes essentially into the water, and you can't see any of the oil. This is CBD, and all we're doing is showing that as we run it through our machine multiple times, it only has to go through 6-8 times. The size of the oil gets smaller. We don't harm the active ingredient that's in the oil. We're only breaking the oil, and the visibility goes up. You can see on the left, that's what you see when you ask someone, show me your CBD oil. You'll see the stuff on the left. So it's very opaque, very lipidy, very opaque, very oily. That same material is the material on the right after we've nanoemulsified it. This is you can see from left to right, the oil and water, oil floating on the top. And as it goes through our machine, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 times at the very end, it's all been, now you can see right through it. So it's become clear. That's telling us that it's a nano emulsion. When you put our nano emulsion in water on the bottom beakers, it disappears. We buy so-called nano emulsion from CBD, astaxanthin, curcumin, other things. And when we put it in water, this is what we see happen. We've never seen anything happen like ours. So I've already said we've gone through a number of areas. The market is completely there. It's huge. It's in multiple applications, and they all have the same problem, which is bioavailability. I'm not going to go through this. The main thing here is we are releasing our first commercial product now this week. We're releasing it. It's a CBD product. We are releasing it in a contract that we believe next year will generate over $1 million. We have 3 contracts already in CBD that should generate over $5 million. And we have one contract that I'm very excited about that's in skincare. We have a number of press releases that are out there. The one on the very top is one we're extremely excited about, Dr. Adrienne Denese, and I'll show a slide on her in just a minute. She sold over $500 million of skincare. She's an MD, PhD, generally regarded as one of the top skincare experts over the last 20, 30 years in the world. And we just signed a deal with her 2 months ago, and we announced it in a webinar about a month ago about this this hair regrowth product that we're working on. This is Dr. Denese. Dr. Denese is an amazing story, but again, I've given you her background. She's the queen of QVC when it comes to skincare. She's still on it. If you Google Dr. Denese QVC, you'll see her in action. We signed a deal with her 2 months ago. I did a webinar a month ago with Family Office, and we had about 50 family offices there. And what she was asked is there anything that you haven't made yet that you'd like to make? She said, absolutely, a loss stop cream, as well as a hair regrowth. And with Pressure Bio's nanoemulsion technology, I believe it'll get through the scalp into the follicles. So I've left about a minute and a half, I think, for questions. We don't have an announced pipe or anything going on. We are publicly traded, and but I'm certainly but happy to sign an NDA and give a lot more information about what I just presented.
Sorry about that. Bill, what's your question?
Really fascinating. Thank you. You know, just high level, like, you know, can you do all of what you just said with the capital you have on hand, or
No.
do you need?
No,
Okay.
I'll have to let you read, Bill, in between the lines there, but no, I can't. But we don't, we're publicly traded. I have not announced any formal financing.
Okay. And Yao, your question?
What's the raise?
Under an NDA, we can get everybody an NDA. This is an opportunity. Our stock is down quite a lot, as is everybody's. And yet we're releasing this price, 6 years to make it. And we're releasing it this week. And we've already publicly said we did $2 million last year without any ultra shear. We've already announced we have over $5 million in contracts in, and we're here at the cannabis meeting. We have tons of meetings here with a lot of people who say nanoemulsions are the way to go. And if you have a real one, we're interested.
Right.
I'm just curious why. Never mind.
We can set follow-up calls afterwards. I think in a follow-up setting, we can dig into some more. So we'll do that. Thank you, Rick, for the presentation. And with that, let's move to our next one, Steve Peterschmidt of Porchlight Health. Steve, slides are up.
Slides are up. All right. My name is Steve Peterschmidt. I'm the CEO and founder of Porchlight Health. Porchlight Health is a service-enabled platform that helps in-home healthcare providers improve communication and reduce cost. I'm going to refer to this as really in-home healthcare 1.0 because it's really focused on the current model, at least, is focused completely on providing in-person services. And that's why the industry has been able to, or hasn't been able to really evolve. So there's no effective way to be able to know how somebody is doing in their home unless you actually go interact with them face to face. Telehealth has failed. Remote patient monitoring has failed. Electronic medical records aren't set up to do this, and they're not going to be. And then even just, you know, giving somebody a smart device or trying to call them on their phone, these are all mechanisms that don't fail. The key reason why these mechanisms don't fail is that the population that you have to manage with in-home healthcare is really about seniors in their home. And if 2/3 of seniors, 338 million, struggle to connect with technology, then it doesn't matter how good the technology, the remote patient monitoring or anything else is on the caregiver side. The reason this is a big deal is that when you look at Medicare spending, which 96% of seniors are on some form of Medicare, that it's unsustainable and it's going to force innovation. So today, you know, over the last 20 years, it's 5x. Right now, it's $389 billion, but over the next 10 years, it's going to more than double to 1.6. This is going to force innovation into the payment model. It's going to force innovation into the delivery of healthcare model, where that healthcare is done. And then also it's even redefining the word health. So the opportunity that sits in front of us is McKinsey has created a report that details $265 billion of existing Medicare spending that could be moved into the home. And a large, part of that has to do with scaling existing services. It's also about combining different levels of service to create better offerings. And then the last part is that there's some true innovation that's going to happen to move things like post-acute care in there. Where Porchlight is focused is on the $65 billion section that is about primary health care, post-acute long-term care, hospice, and behavioral health. So there's 4 things that have to happen for us to be able to innovate in this space. The first one is that we have to own the home. And this is a big ask. And companies like Google and Amazon and Apple have all failed at trying to do this because they're approaching it from a technology first perspective. what Porchlight does is that, we're doing the hard thing. We're actually going in and we're solving the digital isolation challenges, right? Do they have technology? Do they have a way to use it and manage it? And do they have support in the home if they have cognitive or physical challenges? So once you overcome those barriers, the next thing you have to do is actually be active in their daily life. And this is not going to happen through telehealth. It's not going to happen through remote patient monitoring. The thing that's sticky is helping people interact with their family, see the pictures of their kids, dogs, stay in their lives in a meaningful way. And then last, it's actually building a digital or a network around them. And that's how do you make sure that if you're a senior, you have not only access to technology and a digital voice, but the way you interact with your family is the same way you're going to interact with your doctor, community-based support, et cetera. Second one is that you have to get everybody on one platform. And that means making sure that everybody can communicate, and you're not adding one more thing. It's about consolidating and streamlining communication with family, with care teams, and then also bringing all that together, right? So then the third component, it's really all about collecting a new set of data. So the data that is out there today, 80% of the data that drives healthcare is not healthcare data itself. It's social determinant of health data. It's understanding how somebody's doing in that moment. And then it's also understanding the level of connection. Or what Porchlight does is we have the tools that are actually in place today to not only collect and baseline how somebody's doing socially, but to collect that information in an ongoing fashion, give them a voice in their daily check-in, but also through non-clinical resources we have in the home, we're able to start collecting observed well-being as well. And once you have all that data, now you can start to do really interesting things with it from an AI and an automation perspective. You can start to risk score people so that it's not about just sending resources into the home, but it's understanding what resources and when to do that. It's automating the touch points and the feeds and the information that flows so that the act of being face-to-face with somebody isn't about collecting information, it's about taking action. So on the AI side, it's very simple. We have an automated process for prompting people to interact after we build the network, those daily interactions. AI prompts healthcare resources. We automate ways that we can create feedback loops into the family members and allow them to connect as well. So again, we've taken somebody that was digitally isolated and we've given them a voice and helped them connect. It's these four in unison, in conjunction, that create cost savings. So the traction we have so far is we've had, actually the last 12 months is closer to 200,000 interactions across the spectrum, from texting to video share to video chat to quick messaging as well. And then really the key metric for us is engagement. Engagement is, we are able to see over 60 interactions a month, where you compare that to the other organizations that are working in this space on different levels. And we're talking about, single digit dozens, possibly 100 or more from a few folks. Right now we have 4 clients. We just signed 2 new ones. We're launching with them, or actually our launch started last week. When we're expanding with one of the other clients we've been with for the last year. We have 4 new clients that we've either signed a pilot agreement with, signed an LOI, or are in discussions with executive teams. It's the second largest, Atria is the second largest senior living community, inhabits the 4th largest in-home healthcare, and MCAR is a large primary care provider across 19 states. So, all of that represents about 16 million of opportunity. We're dealing with several other large top 10, top 20 companies across the post-acute care space as well, and hoping to close those by the end of the year. We have a team that knows the space. I started and sold a company to a top 5 home care agency. Chief Technology Officer built an EMR. We have other subject matter experts, again, that know the space. We're just looking for a seed round right now to get us through the pilots that we have signed up. If we can close out on these pilots, we'll be looking to do a Series A, sort of late Q1, early Q2 of next year. That would be in somewhere in the $6 to $10 million space.
Great.
Yeah,
Thanks, Steve. Yeah, what's your first question?
Seems like you have a lot of this covered. Why are you here?
wait, I don't have the money right now. So what we have is we've got pilots and things teed up and ready to go. But we're not profitable because we're a startup. And so what we need is, again, it's just this $850,000 right now to get us through the pilots, to get us to our Series A. We're definitely in the bootstrap mode. I mean, I'm as Hall knows, I've got 4 hats on right now. That doesn't scale, and that doesn't help us get through the pilots and dive into the Series A.
Bill, what's your thoughts?
Steve, the one pilot you have is a pretty material pilot. I think it's $1.1 million. Any concerns about taking on a customer like that? It almost would kind of make you a captive of them relative to the rest of the revenue opportunities you have currently and in the near term.
Yeah, no, one of my co-founders actually lost a business due to that. So we're conscious of it, but I'm not concerned about that. We've got enough customers in the pipeline right now, and the opportunity is big enough. When I was at a national convention for the Home Care and Hospice Agency 2 years ago, people didn't understand what I was talking about. This year, when I talked to them, it was just a month ago, the industry gets it. People are coming to us now. And so even if we have one big customer, that isn't an issue at all. The service, and again, we're not worried about defensibility either. The process that we go through is important, and people can duplicate that. The front-facing app that people use can be duplicated. What can't be duplicated is the way that we gather and evaluate the data to start scoring where are the efficiencies that we can gain in the system. And we've got a 1.5, 2 years head start on that, because we did a whole year of just octogenarian testing to make sure that we can understand how to meet that audience where they are and give them a digital voice. That's more than you asked for, but anyway.
No, it's helpful.
Great. Any questions from the audience? Please go ahead and post those in there as well. Any other words you want to share with us, Steve, about next steps here for what you guys are doing?
Yeah, no, we're really excited. I can't announce it yet, but we've got another board member that's going to be joining us, chief medical officer from one of the largest companies that we're going after right now as well. And she's just a rock star in the space, knows it, and is going to be able to not only sort of help guide us from a machine learning perspective and the AI component, but she's also heavily connected in the investment and obviously the sales community as well. So we're really looking forward to taking the next step with that. And then this pilot that we're launching in the behavioral health space right now gets us into a very large intellectually and developmentally delayed adult population, which is 7.3 million people across the country at an average cost every year of about $80,000. So our ability to show cost efficiencies in there is going to be a big opportunity in that space as well.
I have a question from the chat box. Why is your seed round so low? $850K would seem that you would burn through it pretty quickly, whereas $2 million would give you some more time to cover all the bases that you proposed.
Yeah, so right now I would absolutely take 2 million. Because that gives us a little bit more of a runway into the space. When we first laid this out about 4 months ago, really all we were trying to do is just get through the pilot so we could get to a Series A and a much bigger proof point. And so right now what we've got is we've got enough suitors at the door that additional additional investment right now would allow us to pull in some of that work and hire some people earlier so I could offload the sales component and we could get another partner in to operations earlier. So I'm not against over raising in this round at all. 850 is really just sort of the minimum that we need to get it done.
Great. Any other questions, Bill or Yao?
Nope.
All right. Thanks so much, Steve. Appreciate it. Next up is Mandeep Kumar of Deep Cognition. Mandeep?
Hello, everyone. I'm Mandeep. I'm CEO and founder of Deep Cognition. We are solving a problem of manual data entry that's involved in various business processes and pretty much all segments of businesses, banking, logistics, healthcare, etc. The problem is very simple. In these business processes, you have some kind of a document and some information need to be transferred into a some kind of a computer system, ERP systems, or transport management system, and so on. Total addressable market by 2025 for this market is about $10 billion, and currently we are having our marketing and sales focus on logistics. Specifically within logistics, we believe we are strongest in customs clearance use cases, where we take commercial invoice and packing list and extract information from that and enter into the customs clearance software. And this market itself is huge. If we do bottoms up analysis, 400 million shipments annually, and typically 10 pages per shipment. So you're talking about almost 4 billion pages that are being, I would say 90% of that is being entered manually. Why this type of solution is relevant today is because typically a regular computer program would not be able to solve such a problem, because the format of the document changes, the layout, how the information is structured, and it's very difficult to solve with a regular type of programming. So we have expertise in deep learning. Not only that, but we have a very unique combination of visual deep learning combined with NLP that gives us an edge to be able to see any document and get the relevant information extracted at really high accuracy. It's also relevant because there is a push for digital transformation within logistics. Because of cost pressure, a lot of logistics companies are currently looking to reduce cost. And this is one of the initiatives we have seen in a lot of companies going on right now. And also there is a significant funding recently happened in document capture market. But a lot of the other startups and other solutions we have seen in the market, they only deal with simple documents. When the complexity go higher, those solutions don't work, and that's where our opportunity is. So platform paper entry, like I said, has extremely high accuracy on complex documents, and the other differentiator is we have labeling system that is because any AI needs examples to learn, and we have a labeling system that we can give it to the end customers. For example, operations teams within logistics, freight forwarding companies, and whenever it makes a mistake, they can label it, and the next time it wouldn't make the same mistake. One of our largest clients is Savino Del Bene, which is the largest freight forwarder out of Italy. We have sold to their South African branch. For them, a 90-page commercial invoice used to take 40 hours to enter. And with our system, it only takes 2 minutes of manual time to enter that information into the system. So they are seeing a significant benefit of cost reduction on their side. Here is the competitive landscape. Like I said, there are various companies in this targeting different use cases. where we shine is able to handle extremely complex documents and also have self-service component. So a large enterprise IT team can take our system, configure it themselves, and build a solution, and they might also be able to manage the solution. We always give them an option to actually, if they don't want to do all that work, we can do that and set up the server for them, have a different business pricing for that, or they can just license the software and basically build the solution and manage the solution themselves. Currently, these are we started earlier this year or fourth quarter last year. We started closing smaller freight forwarders with not very high amount of ARR, but that gave us an experience and what kind of problems they care about, what kind of things the freight forwarders care about, and we fine-tuned the solution over this period. And now we started closing larger clients, and we are also targeting top 100 freight forwarders only at this point. And typically, the large freight forwarders like Siva Logistics or TB Schenker are about 1.5 million ARR from a single client, based on the volume of the documents they process. We also have IRS, which has licensed a product that we no longer sell anymore. It's a deep learning studio. Now they are interested in paper entry, so we have a opportunity to license paper entry to IRS, and they have a pretty big volume within IRS to kind of extract information from forms and documents, mostly for the investigation purposes. We deal with the criminal investigation department over there. Our business model is pretty simple. We charge per page, depending on the country and labor cost, and also depending on the complexity of the document. The price varies somewhere from 30 cents to 60 cents. We charge small amount of setup fee, and for large customers, we charge 30K support per year. This year, we are aiming to do about $500,000 in revenue, and we are hoping to do $3 million next year, and then moving on to 15 and 42 million the years after that. Here is the product roadmap. Currently, we are focused on freight forwarding use cases, mostly customs clearance. We also have a client with accounts payable use case, and we are going to expand it into bill of lading and packing list, arrival notices. So kind of expand within the existing client base. And next year we are planning to go into warehousing market, which is kind of adjacent market, similar. And I think our success in freight forwarding can help us penetrate warehousing. And then obviously there is banking, government, and healthcare is also down the line. So from a product perspective, we have, like I said, self-service software already. We are continuing to improve that self-service component. And then 2023, we're gonna release public SDKs so other companies can download and use build solution themselves. And 2024, we want to go in more analytics mode, and more of a kind of analyzing historical data and run higher level analytics on it. This is the team right now. Myself, I'm based out of Dallas. Shiv is in Bay Area. We have 2 salespeople, Tracy and Jennifer, and the rest of the team is in Bangalore, mostly engineering team. We are raising $500,000 with convertible notes, $8 million cap, and 20% discount. The fund we are going to use is to hire a experienced enterprise salesperson, specifically who have experience in selling into freight forwarders, and also invest that money in the trade shows, and also some portion of it will be invested for kind of the big accounts that we are getting to kind of support them and make it successful. Any questions? I'm happy to answer.
Yeah, let's start with you. What questions do you have?
This is pretty interesting. Is 500K enough?
I think
Okay.
500K is enough for us to, I believe it's enough for us to kind of reach Series A by end of second quarter next year. If we close even another one more account, I think we can reach 1 million ARR. Because the accounts are so big, the one that we are targeting.
Bill, what's your question?
Can you speak a little bit to the gross margin side of the equation? I mean, obviously you've got a huge revenue opportunity, and just trying to understand if you hate to say it, but are you buying customers because of a lower price solution, or where does your pricing fit in terms of the competitive matrix you laid out?
So pricing depends on the complexity of the documents. For commercial invoices, I think that what the competitive pricing is around 60 cents, and that's what we are also offering. We don't charge as much setup fees as other companies do, because for our system we don't need as much of setup. Generally speaking, we need a few examples of their documents and very low overhead for us to kind of get up and running.
Great. Any questions from the audience? While we're waiting for that, Mandeep, can you talk about, oh, here's one. In prior funding safe of 475K, how long in months or years did it last? And when are you targeting profitability?
So currently our burn rate is $5,000. So we are pretty much break even at this point. So we raised that about 3 years back, and like I said, we're kind of break even. We have enough revenue, but we want this new money to kind of take it to the next level to get to the larger customers.
And you talk more about when you get inside a company, what do you do from there? How do you land and expand?
So typically, once depends upon which kind of team is approaching us. Typically, it's the operations team. They approach us for customs clearance. We would basically, show them the system, and let's say the system set it up, and then they have other use cases for data entry. And one obvious use case is accounts payable, where vendor invoices need to be entered into the system. So that becomes very natural for us to provide solution for that. In fact, vendor invoices are actually the easier type of invoices for us, so we have a super high accuracy on them. In addition, there are use cases related to arrival notices, where arrival notices coming from the port for a shipment, and they need to be entered into the system, so the tracking can be updated on those shipments. So these are the various use cases, depend upon the customer what they want to do. We generally expand to that, and yeah.
Can you talk about the IRS contract, current status and what that's all about?
With IRS is considering us for $120,000 for a single seat license, paper entry. They are also considering us to give a service contract where they will provide us the data and we provide them structured information. So in that case, they don't use the software themselves, but number of pages they are considering it is huge. Like, I mean, it's 1 million pages that they want us to kind of process through. So they are still working on the funding on that. So just before this meeting, I had a discussion with them. So currently, they probably have funding for the licensing on a single PC, but they don't have the funding right now for the service part. But the government business kind of goes a little slow. So we are working with them. We already have existing PO with them for the other software, like I said. So we have existing relationship. They know we have delivered, they are in the past AI projects. So we have a good rapport with them.
Great. Well, if there are no other questions, we'll go ahead and close it out. Thanks so much, Mandeep, for your presentation.
Thank you.
Our final presenter is Prakash Mohandas of InsurePro. Prakash, if you can go ahead and share your slides, we'll kick off with yours next.
Cool. So my name is Prakash. I've been in Austin for about 18 years. I got a master's from UT Austin, and since then I've been in Austin building digital products and platforms for various different companies, including Charles Schwab, Dell, AMD, to name a few. I was part of a digital brokerage, which is one of the largest commercial insurance brokerages in the US, called NFP, for about 4 years, where I learned a lot about the insurance business, as well as issues with platforms and technology in the commercial insurance space. And then my last engagement was with a company called Cox Automotive. If you've heard of Kelley Blue Book as a brand, that's one of their brands. So I was managing 2 of their brands and product divisions for them, totaling an ARR of about 350 million, pretty large operations. But then I decided to branch off and start something on my own from scratch, which is when I kind of go back to the problems that I know exist in business insurance or commercial insurance. So I met my co-founder, Jack, who has a long history in insurance. He was one of the first 10 employees, first few employees at this company called the Zebra, which is an insurtech unicorn in the US, from Austin. So we hit it off. We decided to attack business insurance specifically and solve some problems in that space. So far we've been seed funded by an accelerator here in Austin called Rex, and we're on the cusp of looking for a Series A type funding. So what are we building, right? We are building what we consider the most configurable and transparent business insurance platform. We'll talk a little bit about what that means, but let's talk about how we, why did we even decide to do this, right? What are the problems? So we know for a fact, and I personally have experience knowing from a lot of brokers that we worked with, that the customers don't really trust, or businesses don't really trust the broker or on the online insurance shopping experience, even if they're actually purchasing the policy. And the problem with that is it really either affects acquisition or acquiring the customer, or it really affects retention, both of which are big problems in the insurance shopping experience, where brokers are trying to make sure that people are maintaining a relationship over a period of time. Or in the digital marketplace experience as well, you want to make sure that the customers retain as well as customers acquired really well. So the reason why the trust doesn't exist is because businesses don't really understand or have a visibility into the price that they get. So imagine going to kayak.com and imagine you get a price for a flight ticket, but you don't see any change, or you don't understand what factors affected it, or like as you change to 1-stop to no-stop to 3-stop flights or whatever, you don't really see a change in the price, or you don't understand what factors are affecting it. So it's a similar analogy, but the difference is as I change my business settings, or as I change the factors that make up my business, I can't really see the price change right there. So that's a problem in itself, right? Also, not necessarily all options are provided, which basically means that in most situations, people think that the brokers are only presenting whatever makes them more money. So it's not truly transparent at all, right? The same problem exists even in the risk side. As I'm buying a policy, I'm not presented the things that are not included in that policy very clearly. So that's another big problem across the ecosystem, where carriers lose money. The insurer is screwed because they got a policy they did not really understand. Then the last thing is just how configurable is this thing, right? Because as a customer, can I really tweak things or change settings in my business or move levers and really see the pricing change as I buy this policy, which is important because that's what makes it truly transparent and makes them truly buy into the idea that they got really the right price. So the issue is truly pervasive in the sense that it exists in every single sales channel of business insurance, right? If you think about going to a broker or buying through an insurance marketplace online, or in a system where insurance is a requirement for some reason and they're having to purchase it alongside in that particular system, this issue exists, right? So we are really trying to transform trust and self-service across the whole ecosystem by using machine learning and what we call hyper-configurable APIs. And I'll explain what that means. But first pass, what we have done is think of this in 3 stages, right? The first part of the solution that we have implemented is that we've built a platform that integrates via API to 20 plus different business insurance carriers, and then presents an option to the customer to purchase business insurance online. But the experience is very much like Kayak or Hotwire, where with just one application, they can get multiple rates back, look at it side by side. And what we do is we also match them up with the right policy. So we provide AI-based recommendations to say that, hey, as a painter, you might want to get this one because this is better for you than the other one. It might not be the cheapest, right? So we offer carrier matching and a competitive shopping experience, right? The second level of this is where we add the actual true transparency on the front end. So what we're doing is we're building a modeler where we are using machine learning that takes anonymized sales data and anonymized carrier data, and it gives you a 95 to 99% accurate estimate of the actual business insurance price. But the cool thing is you can actually change values like the number of employees, revenue, various aspects of your business, and actually see that price change right there. So the cool thing there is the businesses understand what factors of the business is changing the price, but we make sure that we set it to a lower limit so that they can't game the system, right? So that's cool because even for a broker, we can give that as a SaaS product, which makes it a better conversation of modeling with the customer, makes it feel more like a partnership than a transactional entity, which they can use over time to model various types of business insurance aspects for the customer, right? The last portion of this is, assuming we've built this, we need to be able to embed this platform in various other contexts. So for example, if somebody's buying equipment on Amazon, they need to be able to provide equipment insurance alongside the equipment they're buying. So this system we're building needs to be built from the perspective that the configurability itself is very high. So the system can understand the customer really well, it can understand the carriers really well, and it can also understand the context where you're embedding it really well. And that's really what we consider hyperconfigurability, which is going to be the true differentiator in how we think about, or how others think about this platform. So the market opportunity is pretty large, and most people who work in insurance or invest in it understand it in the sense that US and Canada by 2026 should be about 900 billion in premium. We are focused, like I said, in the online and embedded spaces, with some implications to also brokers from the perspective of how they serve their customers online. And we're trying to obviously get a portion of that market, which is 1 billion by 2026, which forms that third number there. So traction so far. So in a very short time, so basically we started ideating in December, we started building in January, we launched our digital product in March. And since then, we've built a partnership with about 20 of the largest carriers in the business. Progressive is coming on board in a month or two. And we're available in 46 states. And we've written at this point, almost close to 3.5 million in premium in seven months, really, with 70% month-over-month growth since June, resulting in a revenue which is about 450K. As we speak, we're getting closer to 500K in revenue in 7 months. We have about 2,200 customers so far. Our customer acquisition cost is 300, and that came down from almost like 500, 600. So we've really tuned this machine for more fuel. And our lifetime value is a good multiple of the CAC. And that's because we have a model where the customers are retained, or the primary relationship for insurance is through us and not the carrier. So even if they switch carriers over their lifetime, we maintain the primary relationship. And there's lots of things we do to retain them in that context. We started collecting NPS scores at a very early stage. So we're at now actually 80 plus on an NPS score. And we've till year to date, we've had about 91, close to 92% retention of customers. The competitive space, we have, the insurance companies itself have fast quoting, which is not a differentiator anymore. There are other marketplaces out there that do some of this, but the place where we beat them out is the amount of optionality we have, and just what we're doing with the transparency and how configurable it is for the customer. The closest competitors are folks, other platforms or APIs that are helping provide business insurance. But I think the key differentiator, like I said, for us long-term is going to be that we want to be looked at as the most configurable system that people can interface with. And from a direct to consumer perspective, we want to be the most transparent as well in how we use it. So some of these other products and platforms don't use machine learning currently. They're just insurance connectors, if you want to call it. We definitely have a layer of machine learning that helps kind of transform this or unblack boxes commercial insurance for the customer. From a growth perspective, by the end of the year, we should be at about 500K in revenue. Our primary revenue tickers are basically commission fee at this point, 15% of premiums. We also make revenue from ad clicks. We are introducing something called the Job Club, which basically is an interesting subscription model for our customers. A lot of people in our customer base want this, where we have some partners already in our ecosystem and outside that we can combine together that form very valuable business tools for them as a small business. So things like early payments, things like managing their work, being able to find new jobs, being able to get discounts on equipment. All of this will be combined to a subscription model that they can do. But the real angle here is that over time, we find that there are certain kinds of businesses that refer business more than others. And what we're building under the hood is a community-based referral model that over time grows and keeps our customer acquisition cost under control. Stage 2 and stage 3 of growth are basically where you will start to see the APIs and the SaaS products that we're developing that serve our own problems be served out to others. And that's piloted in 2023, growing further on 2024. And in 2025, we will add optionality to our marketplace, which starts to serve the gig economy more, because by then we estimate that there'll be a lot more people who are looking for flexible options in the marketplace. Our primary modes of acquisition right now are in row 1. The most amount of success and efficiency we find are from affiliate marketers, who basically give us very high intent leads. And we've tuned that system over time, like I said, to be really good about customer acquisition cost. So we're ready for more fuel to grow it. But long-term, our success is definitely going to be based on finding a lot more embedded and channel partnerships, and also building out the Job Club, truly from a direct to customer perspective, and build that community model that refers very often. So our team, I spoke a little bit about myself. I do consider myself a platform and API expert in building the teams around it, building the business around it, taking it to market. Jack Ivine is, like I said, one of the first few employees of the Zebra. So he's brilliant when it comes to carrier relationships. Matt Lee is a whiz kid in ML, one of the top rated machine learning engineers, and he's the one who's building the machine learning tools and the modeler. Matthew is our engineering lead. He's also, I've known him for a while. He's a platform expert. Kyle is our young dashing designer, and Nicole is our agency director who manages an agency of 4 agents who are not listed on here. And then we have an offshore team of 5 engineers in India and Sri Lanka. So we're raising 7 million, out of which 3 will be allocated to growing our engineering and machine learning teams to build the capabilities on the API and machine learning side. We are continuing to grow our marketplace, which is direct to customer, to about 30,000 active customers. And that's going to need digital marketing spend as well, for sure. And then we're going to slightly grow our sales team as well, because out of all that marketing work to service the policies and to sell them, we're going to need some staff. So that's the kind of split of how we plan to deploy the capital. Yeah, so that's all I have.
Great. Bill, what's your question?
It's a pretty impressive pitch. I know a couple of the players that you're selling to and partnering with, and so I guess the biggest question I see is usually when we see Series A type money, the ratios are a little bit different. It's definitely more on the sales and marketing, and maybe that's kind of where you've got 3 million in marketing. Is this one of those things where are you thinking more traditional consumer marketing, or are you marketing to like business brokers? Where are you going to target that? Because that's a lot of marketing dollars, depending where you put it.
Yeah, so there's two parts of the answer, right? in this mode of operation, in the marketplace mode, direct to consumer marketing dollars in the early stages is traditionally high till you get to a certain point. So it is not unusual to see this kind of marketing dollars, but we're pretty efficient with it. But the marketing dollars itself, like I said, is split to what we call affiliate marketers, where it's not directly consumer or like heavily focused on social media or like, paid search. It is going through other channels that helps us with higher intent leads.
Great. Yeah, what's your question?
How are you going to service all of these accounts? Or do you think that they're not going to fall on the insurance policy?
Yeah, so we do have a system where our agents also double up on the service side, because we have an actual bandwidth duration, and we have a time during the day when they actually do that kind of work. But we also have an app that we've built that actually helps self-service from a simple on 2 of the 3 different things that they usually call about, which creates like certificates of insurance and all that. So it's a mix of the tool we already have, but it's also a mix of agents who have a certain portion of their time during the day when they actually also offer servicing.
Great. Prakash, my final question is aside from money, what else are you looking for from the investors to help you with this business?
So there's 2 things, right? Obviously, strategic partnership in the sense of are they in any way connected in some sense to technology that insurance companies or brokers and in any of those networks, right? Because part of our growth model has to definitely be involving acquiring customers at the broker level, and basically being able to provide them tools from a growth perspective. But then the second thing is also there are people who are experts at even digital marketing from the perspective of that kind of a growth model over time, and those kind of expertise and being able to build channel partnerships also is very important if they have any of those kind of experiences.
Great. Well, thank you, Prakash. That was a great presentation. I want to thank everybody for presenting today. We are at the end of our presentations and our time. I want to thank everybody for participating today, and we'll be back in touch with each of you about making follow-on or follow-up meetings after this. Be thinking about who you want to meet with, and we'll reach out and we'll facilitate those with the investors that we have today, both in the audience and on the panel. And with that, we'll go and wrap up. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you next time.